Hello and welcome to this NTN Week in Review, another edition of the NTN Week in Review. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you watching on air and online, residents in Saint Lucia, as well as Saint Lucians in the diaspora and well-wishers worldwide. Today is Saturday, the 18th of July, and as usual, we're here, a team of us, to bring you the information, the latest stories of the week from the week that was. I'm joined in studio by my colleagues, Carlton Cyril and Lissa Joseph. A special good morning to you both.
Good morning. I was about to say bonjour. Folks, that's
my line, Lissa.
Line.
We see you stayed at home a little too much last weekend. You already mistaken the lines. Exa se kote nou ka di bonjour ek merci tellement pour vous qui avez nous. Comme ça avec quand Jessie Jadi c'est samedi. Le 18, ek sa se kote nou ka visiter tout ça qui fait nouvelle. Ek ba ou information et puis développement qu'on nou ka continuer. Ou ja sav a pas di développement. Quand nous en saison carnaval là, nous toujours ni un petit amusement ba ou qu'on avait pour ça les y venir pour amusement ça. Quand nous dit le 18 juillet, merci tellement Centre Comadlan qu'on nous ka visiter tout ça qui passait en week-end là.
Thanks for that, Carlton. And there's so much to look back on. Unfortunately, we've had to put it into about a 30-45 minute wrap-up because we do have a special presentation for you guys this morning. We know there will be no carnival Monday and Tuesday. Our carnival was shot due to the effects of COVID-19. As a result, we have been, I think we started last week, bringing on Blaze as well as Tikaro with our carnival sort of programming to bring you the thoughts and feelings of the individuals who would have been at the forefront of the carnival season. We do have two DJs in studio. We were supposed to have two soca artists as well. Unfortunately, them being from the south of the island, they found some difficulty making their way to the north. So we do hope they are safe and sound. And meantime, we will keep the vibe going with the two DJs later on this morning. We continue with news, the news from the week that was. The island confirmed a new case of the coronavirus, a 27-year-old returning national. Also, the Ministry of Education prepares to replace common entrance with CPEA following common entrance results announcement. And the government and people bid farewell to 30 Cuban healthcare workers who've completed their mission here on island. And our destination is awarded a title of prestigious honor by world-renowned U.S. Travel and Leisure magazine. We get into the details of these stories now. On Tuesday this week, Saint Lucia recorded a positive case of the coronavirus. The individual is a 27-year-old male, a returning national, who arrived in Saint Lucia on Friday. That's the week before last, this past one. Upon arrival, he was tested and placed in institutional quarantine. Thankfully so. Upon receipt of the results, the individual was transferred to the respiratory hospital for isolation and related supportive care. He is currently doing well. We did hear from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar George that the risk to people in quarantine and staff of the facility is low given the infection prevention and control guidelines that have been put in place at the quarantine site. Dr. Belmar did remind individuals that as St. Lucia moves into the fifth phase of the reopening of our society, which is the highest risk to the population, it is anticipated that there will be a reintroduction of cases both from returning nationals and tourist arrivals. We go to our first clip for the morning. Okay, we seem to be having some technical difficulties with that, but just to let you know, with some more COVID-19 news, again with the fifth phase, us entering the fifth phase, the highest risk as we try to reopen our society at this time. We did get word this week that the lead economic sector has seen the return of 1,400 workers and the training of hundreds more in the informal sector. So that is definitely something that coming from a place of not knowing what the future held, uncertainty looming, we did get word of these 1,400 workers returning to work within the tourism, hospitality, accommodation services sector at this point in time. Continuing with COVID news in terms of our resumption of and reopening of our society and resumption of the full economy with the fifth phase. We did get a 1-week update since the reintroduction of commercial flights to Saint Lucia, and that was yesterday with an update. This update being with the Honorable Dominic Fede, Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and the Creative Industries, and Mr. Parker Ragnanan, a familiar face, the Chief Environmental Health Officer in the Department of Health and Wellness. And this, I understand you moderated that update.
Having to guide that information to the public, as always, was a pleasure, Jesse, because it really shows how what we are doing as a country is beginning to bear fruit. It will be slow, but it is sure to come, and that's the important thing. In terms of, and I know everybody's concerned about the number of people coming in, because we equate, of course, the numbers coming in to the risk
threat
involved as we open up to the United States in particular. I think it was very important for the minister and for the chief environmental officer yesterday to indicate that Saint Lucia is open, but not solely to the United States. It is open to all of the countries. However, the airlines operating out of the United States, based in the United States, are more ready to fly. And so you would find now that is where you will be getting that traffic, that air traffic coming from. The UK, as the minister indicated, will be coming through, but that's not until within the range of the month of August, thereabout when they'll be ready. And remember that out of the UK market, before COVID, we'd seen like places like, we had Virgin Atlantic, which had gone into some trouble, financial troubles, and had asked for the government to be able to subsidize it, in which we did not. You had Thomas Cook, British Airways, to a certain extent, of course, having financial troubles, and that was before COVID. And so you can imagine now in this COVID period that these airlines are having real serious financial difficulties. Out of the Miami International Airport with American Airlines, they commenced our aviation services. That's the commercial flights to Saint Lucia. As we know, that began on July 9. And between the 9th of July to the 16th of July, we've seen 900 people come through the border. I just want to give you a breakdown of what that is so we can understand what's happening. On July 9th, we took in 47 people for home quarantine, because that is still happening, and it is, although there is the insistence for people to be able to go to a government facility, but there are situations that will necessitate people having to have home quarantine, and that, of course, is happening. So we have 47 people on July 9th being approved for home quarantine. 24 were taken into the government facility, and 36 went into the certified hotel. On July 10th, we had 33 for home quarantine, 45 at the government facility, 113 at the certified hotel. July 11, we had 25 for home quarantine, 47 at the government facility, and 71 going to the certified hotel. July 12th, we had 8 for home quarantine, 12 for the government facility, and 40 for the certified hotel. July 13, we had 13 for the home quarantine, 24 went into the government facility, 71 went off to a hotel. July 14, we had 6 for home quarantine, 13 for the government facility, and 60 at the certified hotel. On the 15th of July, 4 for home quarantine, 20 for the government facility, and 42 for the hotel. July 16, 34 went to home quarantine, 69 at the government facility, and 43 at a certified hotel. Now, so that brings the numbers to 170 for home quarantine, 254 at the government facility, and 476 at a hotel. Now, most importantly, we know that once you land at the Hironora International Airport, we now see an expansion and delineation of areas where the passengers are sent through. There's a coding system as well, as the Chief Environmental Officer explained. and everyone is to present their negative test. However, because we know that there will always be cracks in any system that is set up, the government had already anticipated this, and so for one reason or another, whether the individual did not have a negative test coming through, meaning they had no test to present, or they presented a test but had symptoms, they exhibited symptoms, there were swabs that were conducted at the airport. So on the 9th of July, from the passengers that came in, we had 6 swabs that took place. There were none happening on July 10. On July 11th, there were 3 individuals who were swabbed. On July 12th, we had 4 individuals swabbed. On the July 13th, we had 1. And then so far, we haven't had to do any swabs at the airport. So that is a very good indication that the system is really picking up anything that may be able to fall through the cracks. There's also been some adjustments made there to accommodate persons, to better accommodate the passengers as they come through the nurses station. The Chief Environmental Officer explained that, of course, after the simulation exercise, there were some deficiencies that were detected, and swiftly the corrections were made, and of course we've been able to better, and of course part of that really had to do with the delays in really because of the thoroughness of the screening process led to the delays in how people were being processed. And so they've increased those screening stations, as well as increased the number of personnel there to undertake that. Most importantly, what the Chief Environmental Officer indicated, and that, of course, is the sort of confusing thing, if you will, for the lack of a better phrasing, of COVID-19, because the case that we had, the 23rd positive case for us, that individual came in with a negative test.
Wow.
And by the time he came here on island presenting symptoms, he tested positive. And that is why the authorities are really stressing the need for that quarantine. So that even though you do have that negative test and they're asking you to get it within 7 days of travel, that virus, anything can change at any time. So that is why being quarantined is so important. And because that individual went into quarantine, then you find that we now have that lessening of a risk to the community. So these are some of the things. And also the hot talking points that we had all of last week, where we saw the guests, some guests, a few guests that were noted to be out. The Chief Environmental Officer was careful to point out that while we may be seeing visitors on boat tours, it is sanctioned, it is approved. And there's a process that the boat operators themselves go through for approval. And so the guests are only approved to have boat tours. They're not approved to go out on land and sightsee and that, no. And even on the boat tour, they're not even allowed to get off the boat once they get into, whether it be Marigo or Sufra. You stay right there, you enjoy the scenery, and you come back to the facility. So that was something they stressed. The minister also stressed that unequivocally the government has made it clear to the hotel properties, if they want to remain open during this time, protocols must be followed. So the instances of perhaps guests wandering off the property and so forth, the hotels have agreed, they have beefed up their security, and we should not be seeing any more cases like that, any situations like that popping up. But the minister also did indicate that the reported incidents that were investigated turned out not to be true. And so we may be having a case on social media where these rumors, if you will, the rumor mill is generating itself. And so there may be no basis or no truth to what the rumor mill is churning out. So, and that's one of the things that the minister really encouraged and Saint Lucians and dissuaded them from doing so, because in the end, it really harms us. But the appeal was made. if you come across any visitor to Saint Lucia out in the public, and you perhaps at a safe distance, as we had in the first instance where the individual interviewed the guests to find out where they were, then you alert the authorities. And both the minister and the chief environmental officer made that clear, to alert the authorities so that proper action can be taken. Yes?
Thanks for that, Lisa.
Ek moi Lisa chosa ou kase la ban nou. Ek kon nou ka ba ou développement ek nou ka entrer en détail ça qui fait en semaine nan. Ou ka savent parmi ça qui fait nouvelle c'est là vini pour yon cas nous te conformé là vini pour yon monde qui testé positif pour vermine corona et puis c'était un jeune homme 27 ans qui retournait en pays et puis a pas dit li ka mouche yon test positif négatif, excusez-moi, qui supposé moucher alors quand on pays a été testé parce que la station là à sous airport à côté ou ni pour passer et puis c'est notre agent officiel santé qui examine quand là yo té ni cause yo fait un lot test et il était en quarantine pas dit était en quarantine yo hen résultat qui ka moucher dat qui il même il était mouché signe et puis les tests la vie il mouché positif quoi il s'était ça nous parler dia et puis ça qui est bien important pour ça c'est là venu pour chef officier médical Saint Lucia ça c'est docteur Belma George yon dans ces bagages là il fait bien clair qu'on nous entre en phase 5 wisla plus haut. Ça veut dire nous avons moun kan entrer bonne nouvelle c'est activité yo quitter d'autres places ouvertes place pour toi a ouvert quand nous avons en chaque activité moun kan entrer quand wislan plus haut pour la peine il jamais de nous concitoyens Saint Lucia nous point précaution nous continuer suivre nous continuer suivre protocole parce que là déjà yo ka do wislan kay plus haut c'est yon bagay qui a 3 cassé moi ici pour moi temps à délai moun ka do nous pani ça nous pani corona personne pani ça c'est moun ka mené wislan monsieur nous pas ça point chance là pour point chance là si on ni pour balancer ça qui a fait l'autre pays là ni côté population Saint Lucia a juste mort et puis malade contacté quand nous pas même point chance là parler de ça nous tant nouvelle là vini pour une presse conférence qui était chaîne et puis Lisa ici a parlé by honorable Dominique Fédé qui est responsable pour parmi l'autre bagaille touristes et puis Parker Ragnanan qui travaille chef médical officier là vini pour département santé et quand parmi bagaille qui sort en presse conférence ça là vini pour en chai parler nous attendre nouvelle bonne pour côté qui ni kanté moun wislan tellement ou l'Amérique en parmi bagay qui expliquer là vini pour qui ça nous ni avion ça a volé vini cette lycée avec raison bien clair qu'on lit ça a dit et puis ministre là by explanation l'Amérique te rappelé pas oui là vini pour ces avions qui pas oui pour voler et vous avez bien changé aussi là vini pour les autres ces places là comme l'Angleterre ou ils savent toi ka nous tenir ben c'est moun ça te ka couiller là vini pour Virgin Atlantic qui te a dit pas ka vini ici nous tenir problème là vini pour Thomas Cook toutes ces bails ça c'est moun ça ou ka bien content pour ça là vini pour situation ça yo même pas même pas oui mais parmi bagay nous vinn apprendre là vini pour ces limoa déjà nous avons 170 là vini pour moun qui yo permetté pour faire quarantine kayou nous ni pour faire bien clair là vini pour ça c'est mon côté yo pas savoyer facilité gouvernement pour yon raison et ben l'autre parmi yo maman en bas l'âge 18 ans moun qui malade moun qui infirme moun qui ni situation grand moun et puis moun qui passe test là vini pour ou kan facilité kayou qui ça a commando quoi 170 ça nous ka parler ça c'est moun yo permetté pour entrer et ben faire quarantine kayou 254 excusez-moi aller en facilité gouvernement 466 en ces moun ça 76 excusez-moi yo té aller hôtel c'est moun ça en hôtel en commandation qui a certifié les vini pour protocole quand nous a dit tout ça pour dire qui ça Pas du temps bagay ka marché nous ka vie ouvert, il bien clair pour comprendre déjà il y a à peu près 1400 travailleurs qui habillés en travail. En parmi l'autre développement quoi il Packer Ragnanan qui dit nous là venu pour situation tout le monde est capable dit monde ka quitter propriétaire facilité ko yo supposé et puis en public et ka dit c'est ka yo ha dou c'est ça l'année bagay qui jamais été en place. Pour raison qu'ils savent c'est Jean bateau qui a mené nous visiter pays à par glo c'est moun sa ni pour suivre protocole et qui déjà approuvé. Il bien important pour vous savoir en même voie c'est moun sa pas ça descendre et puis yo pas ça venir parmi citoyens quoi bien clair pour faire ça là venir pour ministre honorable Dominique Fédé yo dans ces bagages là il fait bien clair si c'est accommodation ça c'est hôtel ça ni pour être ouvert yo ni pour suivre protocole il fait ça bien clair et qui dit et si ça pas fait yo kay fermer yo parce que changer encore Wislan c'est pour chaîne la vie moun sauve pas du temps qu'à essayer si nous ça mener bagaille vie ça qui bien important avec nous allons maintenant les venir pour protocole moun ni pour suivre protocole quoi encore nous ka comprendre ça avec nous fait un chaitan et ku kay manière nous était ka expliquer c'est pas date qui nous kan ouvert place avec moun kan toué bien important na vie répéter même si ou venir ku mouche test négatif pour entrer en pays ou ni pour passer en facilité santé les venir pour boire airport yo kay testo et puis yo kay mettre quarantine raison pour ça c'est à délai on ni signe à délai ou ka mouche ou ni virus là et puis ou pas ka rien mais après 7 pour 14 jours ou ka ouais kon ka ouais bagay en place quand nous ka quoi bon matin yon qui bien important nous pointant pour expliquer puis d'où les venir pour situation bagay la manière nous ka manager. Okay, Jesse?
Just one of the final point on this, and that's very, very important. Everyone wishing to travel to Saint Lucia, visitor or returning national, you need to fill out this pre-arrival registration form online. So it really acts as two things. It helps the authorities in order for them to understand the numbers that they have going through for quarantine,
right,
as well as alerting all travelers to Saint Lucia what the procedures, what the protocols are. So in effect, once you submit this form, you are agreeing to abide with the protocols. Now, for the government facility quarantine, and for returning nationals specifically, sometimes when you apply, you will not get an immediate response from the ministry. And the chief medical officer indicated that would be so because they're trying to stagger.
Right.
Trying to stagger the numbers at the quarantine facilities. We have only 300 rooms
for quarantine.
For quarantine. And that's spread along 5 properties. So in order for you now to be able to accommodate, because right now we are at that full capacity, right, for the quarantine. And so it would be important for them to be able to shuffle one batch out and now to make a room for the next. So remember, we're going through this 14-day period. And I think now even for people who perhaps coming through the sort of bubble area, 7 days, and then you can move on out and so forth. So, you know, it's important. So if you apply and you haven't heard anything back, it is because it is being staggered. So once a batch is cleared out, which is happening this week, then we can now make accommodation to bring in a new batch. Yes? So that was important.
Moi, mais juste bon dire ça, là il vient pour point liste qui a fait qui bien important. Là il vient pour ou adele qui fait application parce que ça c'est premier pas si on est pour venir cette ici sort l'autre pays. On est pour faire application sur internet là puis là on fait application ça c'est pour ça sous pas joindre une réponse là même raison pour ça c'est parce que côté yo ka accommoder monde qui en quarantaine qui c'est 5 facilités nous ni capacité à c'est 300 monde quoi on est pour apprécier c'est monde ça qui a été 7 et ben 40 jours 14 jours excusez-moi c'est monde ça qui a été là c'est faut yo aller là kayo avant nous ça accepter plus monde et quoi ouais ça qu'a fait en midi quoi tous les semaines nous ka bien après c'est en compagnie qui aller pour nous payer accepter en l'autre compagnie quoi nous ka quoi nous faire ça clair et pour répondre à des questions mon peut-être tenir là pour qui ça qui a prendre temps pour répondre parce que yo ka espérer pour nous hen pli les pour mener pli monde. Yes.
Now, I'm sorry, Jesse, before you come in again, I know this is really the final thing, but again, this was a large talking point for us. And the argument, and I've heard it around that, well, we've opened to the US and we're not getting any numbers, so what's the point of having to open up? And, you know, we opened up in order to let the world know that we are doing well and we are ready for business. It is also an opportunity for us to be able to perfect or continuously improve on our protocols. On our capacity and ability to combat COVID. We will only know if we are able to do so, if we are actually doing
it. Yeah.
So we can't simply stay there and perhaps do simulation exercise just, you know, amongst ourselves. We have to get into the real action of getting it done in order for us to know what is our capacity for doing so. It is also important to note that because we are in this phase 1 and because we still have that state of emergency in effect, we can pull back, we could shut back down.
True.
If the situation becomes too hot, if you will, we now can say, okay, we pull it, yes. We are going to reverse and we are going to shut down and reassess what is happening. But also, and the minister did make it clear, it's not about numbers. Again, it is not about the numbers. Yes, the revenue that's coming in will be able, it will help the situation economically, but most importantly, it is for us to know that we are able for the long haul because COVID is here for the long haul. But just to put what we are doing into context with what's happening around us and around the world, other countries that are open, and they open with, there are those that are open to the US without any restrictions.
Wow.
Okay.
Despite the situation. And these countries that are open to the US, I'll give you a few of them: Albania, the Dominican Republic, Kosovo, the Maldives, Mexico, North Macedonia, Serbia, Tunisia, and Turkey are open to the US with no restrictions.
Wow.
Those that are open to the US with restrictions, Antigua and Barbuda, you need a negative COVID test with results within 7 days, just like us. In Aruba, the negative test result within 72 hours. Remember, we had that initially. Well, we had 48, then we went to 72, now we're at 7 days. So Aruba requires 72 hours. The Bahamas, they need that test result within a week. Barbados, a test result within 72 hours. Belize, the declaration of no COVID symptoms, 72 hours. Not a test, but a declaration that you have no symptoms. 72 hours. Bermuda, they require a test within 5 days, and then there's a $75 fee. Cambodia, they would like a test within 72 hours and a $3,000 COVID-19 deposit.
You'll be taking care of your own.
There you go. In Croatia, you need a negative test not older than 48 hours. In Ecuador, mandatory 14-day quarantine and a negative COVID test result within 7 days.
Wow.
In Egypt, you need a negative test within 48 hours. The French Polynesia, you need the test result should be negative within 72 hours. Jamaica, travelers from New York, Florida, Arizona, and Texas must have negative test results within 10 days. That's for Jamaica. In Rwanda, arrival by private jet or charter only until August 1st, then commercial flights will begin after that. In St. Bart's, you need a negative test within 72 hours. In St. Martin, which is opening up August 1st, it is, although that is subject to change, you'll be having the same within 70 days negative test. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, on arrival with mandatory 24-hour quarantine while awaiting results because they're testing on island. In Tanzania, you need a test on arrival. And in Turks and Caicos, July 22nd, they're opening with restrictions as well. And in the Ukraine, you are to download an app, you are testing upon arrival, and there's a 24-hour self-isolation. In the United Arab Emirates, only Dubai is open. All other states there are closed. And in the United Kingdom, you are self-isolating for 14 days. So that's what's happening around the world where the U.S. travel is concerned. Quite interesting.
And while we are reopening under very stringent measures, we have so far seen, fortunate for us, many of the individuals who were sent home, who have thrust on the breadline, have now been able to return to work. We have some 1,400 workers being able to return to work. The training of hundreds more is ongoing as well to try to bring back some normalcy within this COVID-19 scenario that we're dealing with. We have a report coming from the Office of the Prime Minister, from the Communications Officer, Daniel Dubois. Take a listen.
The government of Saint Lucia welcomes the return of over 1,000 employees in the hospitality sector as commercial flights into the country commenced last week. A total of 7 hotels have been approved to open under the protocols outlined by the Department of Health and Wellness and the Ministry of Tourism. Minister of Tourism, Information and Broadcasting Honorable Dominic Fady, at Monday's press briefing, noted a very successful first few days of the phased reopening of the tourism sector and a high level of compliance from the majority of nationals and tourists upon arrival. The Tourism Minister highlighted the return of persons to work and reinforced the government's commitment to public health and safety.
There are 1,200 individuals who have returned to work from the 5 hotels that are operational, 2 of them in the north and 3 of them in Soufrière. We've had some 400 visitors so far, 134 returning nationals, and some 143 passengers in transit, most of them going to the Grenadines Islands, coming through Saint Lucia. I want to assure the press this morning that we're doing everything possible to ensure that we keep the people of Saint Lucia safe. Our main priority as a government is to ensure that the safety of the people of Saint Lucia are intact and that we do everything possible to make sure that that is controlled and that is achieved.
Minister for Physical Planning and Parliamentary Representative for Soufrière Forcé-Jacques, Honorable Harold Stanislas, was delighted to see many of his constituents return to work and is looking forward to the second and third phases where local sites and attractions can open.
I welcome the reopening of those hotels in Soufrière, Sugar Beach, Stonefield, Ladera, and I know Anshasni Jade Mountain are making preparations for reopening by sometime next week. This is very welcoming news for the people of Soufrière Forcé-Jacques. As you know, those resorts employ over 1,200 people, and Soufrière has been devastated by COVID for the past couple of weeks, couple of months. So it is very, very pleasing for the reopening of those resorts. People are very happy to be back at work. I know at this moment they cannot bring in the entire complement of staff, but gradually with occupancy going up, they will be able to employ, if not 100%, but almost 80 to 90% of the staff. So that is very good news for Soufrière Forcé-Jacques. I also look forward to the second and third phase of the reopening of the sector, where we will be able to open the sites and attractions in Soufrière. We know that Soufrière is the mecca of tourism, and we have some of the most beautiful sites for our visitors, especially the Sulphur Springs, the Gros Piton, the Diamond Falls, Tet Paul Nature Trail, and so on. So for the past couple of weeks, months, it's been very tough in Soufrière, but I'm very hopeful, very optimistic that there is confidence in the industry, in the sector, and Soufrière will get back on its feet again.
The Parliament.
I'm very hopeful, very optimistic.
And that was a report, an update coming from Daniel Dubois. She's the Communications Officer at the Office of the Prime Minister. Thank you very much for that update, Danielle, on the 1,400 workers that have so far been able to return to work with the opening of the tourism sector, the reintroduction of commercial flights to St. Lucia, the accommodation services sector being open and going again, and the training of hundreds more workers in St. Lucia for the informal sector. We continue with more news. Despite this COVID-19 situation, the Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan of the government of St. Lucia was unveiled at the top of this week, Sunday, and we got word that over $500 million has been allocated by the government of St. Lucia for the recovery of the local economy in form of assistance to the poor, the vulnerable, and the unemployed, as well as investment packages to the business community. The programs are contained again in the Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan, which was unveiled on Sunday. We have a news report.
Budgeted at an estimated $579.3 million, the Economic Recovery and Resilience Strategy represents the unwavering commitment of the government of St. Lucia to the well-being of the people and development of the country. The multidimensional response strategy that seeks to leave no one and no sector behind as Saint Lucia continues to combat the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the country. A comprehensive labor enhancement program is being designed to assist displaced workers in gaining employment in other sectors such as construction, manufacturing, and agriculture. Economist in the Department of Finance's Research and Policy Unit, Jovan Lewis, highlighted the initiative aimed at providing support to the unemployed and vulnerable individuals.
Intervention number 4 will bring over $5.1 million in tangible benefits to poor and vulnerable citizens who have been financially affected by COVID-19, as well as hotel and tourism employees who are currently unemployed. The government of St. Lucia will utilize part of the fuel surcharge of 50 cents currently levied on the use of diesel fuel to finance part of full payment of electricity bills for affected persons. LUCILEC and the Department of Finance will work jointly to ensure this novel initiative redounds to economic relief to over 11,000 households.
The government has expanded the number of poor households on St. Lucia's public assistance program by 1,000, given that 1 in every 4 St. Lucians is considered monetarily poor. Economist in the Department of Economic Development, Transport and Civil Aviation, Donette Chaudhry, says it is just one of the many initiatives aimed at alleviating the financial burden on the vulnerable in society.
To ensure that poor households have the necessary personal protective equipment, COVID-19 hygiene care packages will be provided to the indigent and vulnerable. The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Empowerment and Local Government, through the primary health care facilities and local municipal offices, will supply a total of 6,000 hygiene care packages, inclusive of masks, sanitizers, and sanitary napkins to the poor and vulnerable.
The government is also providing loans to households dislocated by COVID-19 to start up micro and small enterprises and cottage industries. The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Empowerment and Local Government, through the James Belgrave Micro Enterprise Development Fund, will provide up to $500,000 in microloans to households with persons desirous of starting small cottage businesses. Government will also inject $7.2 million into the agricultural sector to support farmers and fishers through the provision of inputs and fuel subsidies. The measure has received the nod of approval from the National Youth Council, which formed part of the Economic Recovery Multisectoral Committee.
For support to fishers, over 200 boat owners will be eligible for fuel subsidy, while 70 fishers will be provided with very high frequency radios with GPS features to support them during crisis on the water. Support will also be provided to aqua and seamoss farmers. In relation to livestock, assistance will be provided to 357 swine farmers and 500 small ruminant and 50 broiler farmers who will be targeted as part of this initiative. In addition, 2,500 crop farmers will be provided with the necessary input required to cultivate short-term crops.
The initiatives are already being rolled out. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
And that report there on the Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan that was unveiled on Sunday, this past Sunday. Over $500 million has been allocated for the recovery of the local economy in a form of assistance to the poor, the vulnerable, and unemployed, as well as investment packages to the business community. And just to segue with that, we have a panel discussion that will be aired live tomorrow night live on NTN. The COVID-19 Roadmap to Recovery panel discussion series. It continues. Saint Lucia Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan, that will be the subject, of course, coming off of the announcement made by the Prime Minister, Honorable Alan Chastanet, last week. Speaking on moving from the pandemic to recovery with collective action. And some of the subject matter to be covered is the curtailing the impact of both global and domestic economic contraction, driving economic activity, protection for poor and most vulnerable sections of the population, as we just heard in this report, low-cost working capital loans to MSMEs, waiver of commercial property tax for landlords, and shovel-ready capital projects. And some of the faces that I could see for this panel discussion is Vincent Boland, from the Saint Lucia Development Bank, also Sabina Valmore, she's from the Southern Business Association. I believe, Lisa, she's been here before on the panel discussion series. Also Tommy Descartes, usual suspects there, Chief Economist at the Department of Economic Development, Transport and Civil Aviation, and Janai Leonce, Chief Economist at the Department of Finance, Research and the Policy Unit. And the moderator will be Mr. Glenn Simon. So we do hope you could tune in tomorrow night. From 6 p.m. live on NTN from the GIS studios for this very interesting, what I believe will be an interesting panel discussion. We move on with more word on how St. Lucians who have been affected by COVID-19 can begin to cope from its effects. The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Local Government and Empowerment is preparing for the rollout of public assistance packages by July ending. And as we hear from this Anicia Antoine report, the ministry has direct responsibility for several of the social stabilization plans that form part of the recently unveiled Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan. So take a listen as to how these public assistance packages will be able to be accessed.
The government of St. Lucia has unveiled the Economic Resilience Plan, budgeted at $576 million, that focuses on stimulating the local economy, protecting livelihoods, and supporting the vulnerable. The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Local Government and Empowerment is concerned with issues pertaining to social protection and is responsible for the public assistance program under the Resilience Plan. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Local Government and Empowerment, Velda Joseph, explained that the ministry has been successful in negotiating with donor partners, and it is anticipated that a number of initiatives will begin to roll out this month. Ms. Joseph also noted that with the current economic situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of applications for support and assistance is rapidly increasing.
We have currently about 2,600 households, and the intention is to expand that by 1,000 households, so up to 3,600 households. That was already in the plan as part of the Human Capital Resilience project, which really looks at social protection in general and how we reform our social protection landscape. But we have decided to advance that component because of the urgency and the current environment that we're in. As part of that process, we are also looking at a recertification process, which was also a part of the Human Capital Resilience project. So all of the 2,600 households that we have on the program right now, we are running them through our newly approved eligibility instrument.
The eligibility instrument is an electronic-based tool using data collected from assessments such as the Country Poverty Assessment. Tanzia Tuse, Deputy Director of Social Transformation, explained that other avenues have been created for individuals who may not qualify to receive assistance via the program.
We partner with a lot of agencies and with a lot of other government agencies or other donor agencies that may decide, okay, I'm throwing in this, or I'm giving you a subsidy here, or I'm giving you some food baskets or food hampers to help here. Or we may be able to refer them to the Red Cross, to the Salvation Army, to NEMO, or to other agencies. We have a very broad network. And when somebody comes, depending on the needs, it may be psychosocial needs, it may just be that they need to see a counselor or they just need to speak to someone, we can refer them.
The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Local Government and Empowerment gave a breakdown on the measures being put in place to develop a graduation strategy for individuals benefiting from the Public Assistance Program.
We don't believe people should remain where they are. We're not helping them to change. We're not helping them to build resilience if we just sustain their current living conditions. And so we've been looking at programs such as TVET, programs under the Bell Fund such as Microenterprise, other programs that would allow them to be able to graduate from public assistance. And that's where we're headed. Under the KUDME program of the SSDF, that is already the intention. So there are a number of pillars that are being supported, and once you've been able to meet all of these, you are graduated off that. Now, as Ms. Toussaint mentioned, you can be referred to another program because you have not quite met one of your pillars, or you still need some further assistance, but you're not under the core program.
For more information concerning the Public Assistance Program, persons are asked to contact the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, Local Government and Empowerment at 468-5108. From the Government Information Service, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Certainly there, with that, we round up all of the ways at this point in time that individuals have been positively impacted following the surge of COVID-19 here on island. The effects of COVID-19, we've been able to come out of the full lockdown, and we've emerged all the way through to the fifth phase of our reopening of society, and we've so far seen 1,400 workers within the sector, the accommodation services sector, as well as the informal sector returning to work at this time. We've also seen with the Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan, St. Lucians being able to benefit from some investment packages for the business community, as well as assistance to the poor, the vulnerable and unemployed. So several initiatives underway even from the Ministry of Equity to try to help persons tide over until things get better overall.
And then we also have the income support program. The application deadline was yesterday, the 17th of July, and so with the closing of that application process, we will now begin to see that the rollout of these funds to those individuals who form part of the informal sector, that is people who are not contributors to the NIC, will be able to get that. Also from the Ministry of Equity, it's important. There's also, some people would know that they've received phone calls from the ministry for electricity. So for the 3-month period, the electricity bills will be paid under a government program. So, and that believe too, there's an expansion of the public assistance list, as you just heard, and so more households are included there. And so I know a number of people who have said, well, you know, I was called about my electricity bill. And so it's good to know that the assistance is not just in one form. It's not just the NIC payment.
Or
it's
just
not
the
just the thing. It's not just the hamper, but it is, right, it's all of these things coming together to provide the relief. And so at every different point, you would find that perhaps one individual may be able to qualify and benefit from more than one of these assistance packages.
And I just want to say, Lisa, just before we move on, as it relates, it's not a replacement for salary, it's not a replacement for you losing your job or anything. It's an assistance, right? It's a support. And of course, what is important to say, l'argent ça yo ka tan quand il vient pour économie, quand nous ka tan quatre bagaille qui en place, ministre qui est responsable pour équalité, nous ka dit les vini pour ça, et ka dit garder quatre manière où ça trouver quoi une assistance et puis support parmi yo moun qui pas payé NIC ak nous ça vini yo dernier date là pour ça c'était hier le 17. Parmi l'autre bagay nous moun qui peut-être pas ça bay koyo assistance pour manger et puis moun qui plus vulnérable qui pauvre parmi nous. Moi bien content si nous ça coûté les nous tan Mazel Joseph c'est lui qui est permanent secrétaire là vini pour qualité là il a dit en chaque ces moun ça là yo mené yo à sous programme là attention c'est pour assister yo et puis faire yo ni responsabilité ben ça supporter ko yo après yo hen si assistance là quoi place qu'on belle fun qui a assister ti business avec ba ou ça ou besoin pour commencer ti business qui commence en Kaila c'est ti business c'est assistance ça éducation là vini pour NSDC et puis ça place ça nous ka copan là vini pour plan pour assister moun dans yon manière ban l'autre nous ka dit c'est pas pièce yon bagay qui en place et puis qu'on lisse bien dit parmi l'autre bagay kaitan moun ka yo annoncement ti fait là vini pour assister moun qui ni bill courant yo ka assister ces moun ça quoi tout ça nous ka dit c'est là vini pour supporter et bay assistance pour vous qui trouve qu'on affecté en yon manière ban l'autre là dans chaque manière gouvernement ka essayer assister quoi c'est où à présent pour qui laisse qui a bénéficié ou bien qui laisse et qui manière où ça bénéfice ça.
And also for we did have the director of social transformation on as well, Ms. Toussaint, who indicated that even for some services that are not advertised or not spoken at this time, if you are in need right now, reach out to the ministry. Because there are only 4 social workers, and so they can only do so much to find individuals who are in need.
Right.
So if you are in need, please reach out to the ministry, explain what your situation is, and they can find you some assistance, because she did indicate that the ministry had been very successful in helping individuals who had found themselves unable to pay rent because of COVID-19. And people who have been dislocated because of COVID-19. So whatever your situation is, you wouldn't know what's available to you if you do not reach out. And you need to reach out to the right agencies. Reach out to the Ministry of Equity, and that ministry will be able to put you in touch with other agencies that can give you the assistance if they're not able to do so directly.
Definitely.
And just on a lighter note before we move on very quickly, I know we have guests who are waiting to give us a wonderful time here to keep smiles on their faces, but I came across this. Jamaicans who are low on cash and in need of food have been given an option to purchase groceries on hire purchase. And believe it or not, it is a furniture company doing so.
Wow.
You want to take a guess?
Quartz.
Unicoma.
Oh, you got it. So Quartz in Jamaica is serving up the eye-popping offer of groceries on hire purchase. Yes.
So should they need to repossess, how would they go?
I don't know how they intend on recovering that, but there you go. It's a novel idea,
Yeah.
The novel coronavirus is really having us to think outside the box.
That one is definitely outside the box. Definitely.
Absolutely. Like Lisa indicated, we do have guests in studio. Of course, it's continuing with the theme that we've started from last week of bringing on persons who would have been very active for the carnival season, but due to COVID-19, rats. They are, quieter. They're more in the studio, producing, working, and we thank them so much for being here this morning to give us a little bit of a good time, as you indicated, Lisa. Continuing quickly with the news of the morning, we had common entrance results being announced this week. At the top of the week, the Ministry of Education, Education, Innovation, Gender Relations, and Sustainable Development alerted parents, students, and teachers of an alternative pathway for common entrance examination students who performed below the national mean. 45% of the common entrance candidates failed to do so. We do have this report, but first of all, we just want to congratulate all of the students who performed well, who passed their examinations. For those of you who did very well, congratulations to you. For those of you who had a goal in mind, but you didn't get through, as I mentioned earlier this week, you wanted to get 70%, you got lower. You wanted to get 80, you got lower. you pass for a school that perhaps you didn't want to go to. It's not where you go, it's what you do. And of course, you have the next 5 years to make the most of things. But we now go to this news report. I think it's very important for the students who did not do as well. 45% of the common entrance students, candidates failed to have a passing grade, and so there is an alternative pathway that I think we should have the viewers listen to so that you could take advantage of if needs be.
Chief Education Officer Fiona Meyer has indicated for overall improvements this year, not every child was successful. In keeping with the department's ethos of no child left behind, the Chief Education Officer indicated that there are other pathways which can lead to student success. Policy documentation over the last 30 years has made provisions for children up to the age of 13 by the 1st of September of the academic year to have an additional opportunity to sit the common entrance examination in the following year. This is done in collaboration with the school's principal and is based on the space requirements at the school. The Department of Education explained that it is important that parents speak to school administrators and look at the various options available.
The Department of Education, in its total wisdom, has seen it fit to invest in the CARE program. And in that regard, has made facilities and resources available so that students whose parents want to engage us for the office of the Chief Education Officer can make provisions for their children's education. And in particular, we applaud the CARE program for the soft skills, the improvement in literacy and numeracy skills that so many of our students desperately need, and they have been able to provide. The important point to note is that there is a reintegration of students when, after a year that they've completed CARE, they are given opportunities to come back into the secondary school setting, as per discussions with the Chief Education Officer through that office and with the various principals of the secondary schools.
In September 2019, the Center for Adolescent Renewal and Education, CARE, in partnership with the Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations, offered places to students who performed below 30% in last year's Common Entrance examination. These students were admitted into the Junior Life Program, JLP, with the option of reintegrating into a secondary school upon completion of the JLP or continuing into the Adolescent Development Program at CARE. The Chief Education Officer added that important factors in student success are parental involvement, support, and monitoring. That way, where necessary, there can be early intervention.
And likewise, as educators, we must focus on early intervention as early as kindergarten, as early as grade 1, grade 2, to note where the deficiencies lie with our children and how best we can support them. It is not about simply putting them through the primary school and getting access to higher education at the secondary school level, but it's about ensuring that they have the skills in order to do so. As I conclude, I will say to you, colleagues, our parents, the general populace, as adults, we must lead by example. We must lead by example in our words and our deeds. We have to speak positivity into our children. We have to affirm them. We have to value them. We have to point to improvements that they've done. And as you get the results, dear parents, note that our children are watching us intently as to our reactions. It is a time to hug your child and to really give them the impetus to continue to improve upon whatever they've started.
Parents of students who attained a grade of 30% or less are encouraged to consider CARE as a pathway for their child. Interested parents should contact the school supervision unit at 468-5261 or email at ceosecretary@education.gov.lc.
And of course, we're running out of time this morning. There's so much we have in store for you. Stay tuned. In the meantime, Saint Lucia bade farewell to 30 of the Cuban healthcare workers who are here assisting with COVID-19 efforts. The practitioners have completed their mission here on island, their medical mission to Saint Lucia. We have more in this report coming from Fresnel Neptune at the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
A batch from the Cuban Medical Brigade on a mission to help Saint Lucia fight the COVID-19 pandemic, recently returned home to Cuba. Minister for Health and Wellness, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, commended the Cuban healthcare workers for the sterling contribution and service provided to the people of Saint Lucia.
So they are returning home. They have served us in Saint Lucia. They have served us extremely well. Our people were reporting how pleased they are to have had these nurses and doctors attend to them during their stay here in Saint Lucia. I have already thanked them on behalf of the government and people of Saint Lucia. I have thanked them for the service that they gave to us so freely, so willingly, and so lovingly. And we are here to say goodbye to them. Sadly, but it is a reality that, all good things often come to an end.
Cuban ambassador to Saint Lucia, His Excellency Alejandro Simancas Marin, emphasized the importance of the international cooperation between the two countries and expressed their commitment to continue providing medical support.
And a special moment for them because after 3 months of working together, they are already part of the beautiful history of friendship, cooperation, and solidarity between Cuba and Saint Lucia. On behalf of the Cuban government, on behalf of the Cuban people, on behalf of the Cuban Medical Brigade, I would like to express our appreciation to the Saint Lucian government, to the Saint Lucian people, to the Saint Lucian Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Minister Mary Isaac, who has been very kind to be here with us today. I would like to express our appreciation to all of them for the hospitality shown to the Cuban health specialists.
A total of 29 nurses and 1 doctor of the Cuban Medical Brigade completed the medical mission and departed St. Lucia for Cuba. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fernal Neptune.
And finally from us, as St. Lucia moves into the final stages of reopening the local economy, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been engaging minibus operators in a dialogue on best practices and behaviors to prevent the spread of COVID-19. We have once again, Fernal Neptune.
As part of reinforcing health protocols for COVID-19 on public transportation, the Ministry of Health and Wellness recently convened a meeting with bus drivers around the island. The bus drivers were provided with guidance for decreasing the risk of passengers and themselves contracting COVID-19. Chief Environmental Health Officer Paco Ragnanan spoke on the protocols expected for public transportation.
The protocols are not very strenuous, but they are important. So we talk about one, the wearing of a mask. Both the drivers and the passengers are expected to continue to wear face masks. The issue of hand sanitizing, and it is important for provision to be made to allow for adequate sanitizers to be available for hand sanitizing, as well as to maintain some physical distance on a vehicle. We think that is important to allow for space between passengers, as well as to looking at the procedure and the protocols for cleaning and decontaminating a bus.
Ragnanan says the discussion with the bus drivers was quite engaging.
The transport sector is looking at whether there is a possibility for increasing the number of passengers that they presently can have on a vehicle. That discussion is ongoing, and no decision was taken on that matter at that meeting. We need to be very careful in terms of looking at public health and public health measures, and we are adamant that these measures must be adhered to, notwithstanding other arrangements that individuals would like to make. So we continue to emphasize the need for protocols and adherence to these protocols.
As it stands right now, up to 10 people are permitted to be on a public transport. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fernal Neptune.
Thank you very much, Fernell Neptune, dutifully providing the NTN News Desk with reports coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And with that, we wrap up the stories from the week that was. We'd like to thank you so much for staying tuned and listening and staying abreast with what the government of St. Lucia has to offer and provide to the population at this time as we try to find our way, maneuver through to the new normal. We want to remind you that we're still under a state of emergency. The emergency regulations, it continues. And while we are opening slowly the economy, our society, we do hope that you're taking the necessary precautions. We did hear word, Lisa, of 2 cases being confirmed in St. Vincent.
Yes, after the visitors failed to adhere to the quarantine protocol.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so we do hope that everybody's playing their part. But if not, you need to play your part no matter what, because you do not know the next person who's beside you may not. So you need to wear your mask. You need to wash your hands. You need to look after yourself and your family, and you're going out and you're coming in. Make sure you do your part at this time. And right now we're due for a break. When we come back, we speak to one of the entertainment and event managers here in St. Lucia. We know Carnival is not happening this year, but there are still activities happening to try to stimulate generate some revenue for the persons within the entertainment and events industry here in St. Lucia. So stay tuned for that. And we also have a session, an entertainment session to wrap up this week in review today with 2 special DJs. Stay tuned.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up, no.
Advice, give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
This is the NTN Week in Review, and as we did last week, we want to highlight the work and efforts of the individuals within the entertainment and events industry. We know the carnival season has taken a blow. There's no carnival season, but there are events, there are activities happening around and about the place in an effort to generate some revenue, to keep the entertainers on the up and up and keeping them inspired at this time. We do want to welcome right now a special guest in studio. He is an events and entertainment manager here in St. Lucia, entertaining some of the leading soca artists and DJs here on island. Mr. Wendell Stephen, a special good morning to you.
Good morning, Saint Lucia. Good morning to the world, basically. I'm very happy to be here to share some of the behind-the-scenes work that has been going on during the COVID-19 epidemic.
Wonderful. If you could just tell us about the upcoming event that you have. I think we should start with that. Tell us about that event. I understand it's the first event of the season, quasi-season, I should say.
Well, to be honest with you, it's just a couple of days ago, I received a call for more or less my artists and also my DJs as well to take part in an event. Now, being involved in events for over the years, first thing I said to the gentleman, which is Mr. Smith, what protocols he have in place for the event? And we tell me, both of us, we could discuss something, and we came up with a COVID plan for the event. One of the things is we know social distancing, 6 feet apart. We also take into consideration hand sanitizers, the face mask, and also we, at that event, basically, we're gonna be having what we call a nursing station. The nurse herself will be at the event to monitor everybody, because what happened when you first enter the event, we will be having a temperature gauge to take everybody's temperature, give them the hand sanitizer, and also if they do not have a mask, we do have complimentary masks available. Now that whole thing came about, I had a discussion with the CMO, which I sent her all the requirements that we will be putting in place, and she said to me, well, that's a very good thing. She gave us the approval to do the event. I also spoke to the commissioner himself, also the assistant fire chief as well. I had a conversation with all of them, and most importantly, even Nemo. And we all agree that the event could go on, but we have to make sure we keep it in the limit of 200 persons. And also, in addition to that, what we decided to do, it would not be the normal. For example, for our guests that will be coming to the event, they will have to go onto our Instagram page, which is Black Cherry 758, to find out how they will be able to attend the event. The event will include basically DJ Drills, we'll have Selector Young, Hollywood HP, and my two artists, which is Pilot and Sly. Pilot in itself is more or less in the industry. He really started out with the first soca tune called Bring It. And then for some reason, all of a sudden, he came with that track called Plenty Loving, that is actually making headways in Saint Lucia and overseas. So the whole component of this event is to actually give you a taste of the team, what the team have to offer, which is Team Wamtech. So we're really looking to put our best foot forward for this event.
Okay, wonderful. And I appreciate how you started off with the protocols that you're putting into place. You know, from now on, we'll be hearing when we have events, ladies free before 11, and also we have free masks before 11 as well, and free hand sanitizers. Definitely appreciate that. Can you tell us some of the artists that we can look forward to at the performance? Give us the venue and so on.
Well, the venue will be at what we call Savans Bay Garden Inn in Beaufort. And the two main acts that will be performing is Sly and also Pilot. They will be the two acts for the night. And then the DJs will be Hollywood HP, Selector Young, and also DJ Drills.
Okay, wonderful. Now, it would have been wonderful to have Pilot and Sly in studio. Unfortunately, they have some pressing matters to attend to. But we do have two young DJs here in studio that you also manage. Tell us about them and the work that they do and what we can expect from them this year.
Well, to be honest with you, they're very young, they're exciting DJs. I have actually partner them with each of the artists to give the artists that comfort zone. You know, most of the times when you find artists performing, every event they go to, they have a different DJ backing them up, and it creates a problem for them. They don't feel that harmonized approach to the performance. So I decided, well, hey guys, for us to do this thing, let's do this thing as a team. So I partner them with each of the artists. they learn their music, they learn their style, and they get themselves involved with each other so they could understand each other much better. So that way, the deliverance of the service, which is the performance, will be even better than normal.
Okay, wonderful. And you have in studio Selector Young, DJ
Yes.
Drills. Tell us about these two.
Right. DJ Selector Young first. He's actually going to be Pilot's DJ. So wherever Pilot will be performing, he will be coming along with him to perform any track that he's going to be doing, basically.
And DJ Drills.
And DJ Drills is paired with, which is Sly.
Okay.
Sly happens to be the 2019 Groovy Monarch.
Okay. And you're managing these individuals, doing events as well, as you mentioned. Tell us what sort of toll it has taken on you so far with COVID-19.
Well, I think that's by now, around this time right now, I don't think I would have been sleeping for weeks because most of the times when I do events, I probably work in 24 hours a day, right, with little sleep. Even family time is more or less on a pause during that time because managing an event, it takes a lot out of you. And now my pressure is even increased more because I'm managing 2 DJs plus 2 artists. And whenever the events come around, I have to manage that as well. So it's nothing new to me because I used to be in the hospitality industry where I worked 30 years experience in that. And believe me, it has always been long hours for me. So my body and my mind has more or less conditioned itself to doing all that. So it made it much easier for me to do all that.
So, Mr. Wendell, pour vous avez ça qui a fait ici, nous sommes en studio et puis nous un jeune homme, Mr. Wendell Stevens. Vous avez savoir dans temps qu'on a présenté, écoutez, nous sommes là qu'à préparer, faire préparation pour carnaval lundi et puis mercredi, lundi et puis mardi. Nous sommes là qu'à faire préparation et puis là qu'à y faire. Et puis c'est un qui évolve les vini pour qu'à mettre un chaise event en place. Et puis là, il a ménagé des DJ et puis des artistes. Nous pas ni là et puis nous mais nous c'est DJ et qui a joué par nous. Il y a une autre question moi vraiment de lancer. À présent nous attendons tout ça qui a fait à présent c'est protocole. Et puis vous parlez d'un event hotné hot caméra spectacle ça Black Bay Savans Bay Garden Inn. Et puis nous savons là ni protocole. Qui manière moun comme moi un moun qui a coûté ça qu'a fait là en premier pas il dit est-ce que ça a un bon qui ça qui a mis en place les vini pour activité ça qui ça qui là pour assurer public là ben citoyen Saint Lucia là vinn là tout bagaille en place et puis ou pas nan pour expressement qu'on nous a parlé de pandemic corona.
Okay, first of all, we went through a stringent protocol list. Basically, when you ask the client or the person coming to the event.
Wendell. Vous avez parlé créole, hein?
Ok.
Oui, c'est ça qu'on a fait nous là.
Oubliez-moi parler créole.
C'est tellement Jesse. C'est pour ça qu'on engage en créole, Wendell. Nous pas de ça parler créole.
Ça nous, ok, ça nous qu'a fait. So, les gens veulent venir.
Oui.
Premier bail yo kani, yo ni pour aller sur Instagram page nous. Right? Yo ni pour register là.
Oui.
Là yo nous ka di yo tout bail pour event là, yo ni pour faire booking yo là. Là yo wivi, yo ni pour premier nous ni hand sanitizer, nous ni mask là, nous ka pour temperature yo à tout. Nous ni nurse là qui là pour check yo avant yo atwe.
Quand on est protocole tout c'est bail en place.
Tout protocole en place. Et nous ni en place si nous check yo et yo ni temperature, nous ka pour yo directly pour station là. Qui ça nous ni nursing station là et then nous ka créer fire service là, ambulance là pour venir collect moun ça. Et
mener yo clinique là oui. Quand nous bien savez venir ou ka parler des activités ou ka parler des qui manière bagaille dans cette Lucia à présent dis-nous yon c'est plus gros bagaille là qui a trouvé quoi affecté les vini pour ça nous savons en parmi bagaille ou pas aller en chaque côté spectacle péni moins split mon péni c'est 200 moins quoi à présent mais à présent dis-moi yon c'est plus gros changement ouais qui fait as a result de Covid les vini pour ça a pas dit en chaque monde passe à venir ensemble.
Well, premier bail là me gaido laisse ça me diga faire about 6 events
différents bail ça même pas happen pour faire ça encore
nous pas à faire ça
ouais
right ouais moi c'est artiste là actuellement ça y est pour faire bail sur live right
aller sur internet et puis faire
internet try faire tout le monde happy.
Oui.
Mettez musique là dans yo, so nous ça enjoy it nous because nous savent quand on était home toute l'air, ou pas rien pour faire.
Expressement là on a pas de show.
Ou check. Ou pas ça faire pièce lime. On niveau coupon c'est bagay ça nous qu'a fait ici il pas rien aisé. So ni pour protect chaque monde. Ça c'est seulement nous ça fait. Actuellement comme dit quand moi parle avec CMOA, moi explique tout ça il dit moi oui ça c'est un bon bail me qu'a fait. Right? Nous bien calculer ça avant nous dire ça. Nous qu'a fait event ça.
OK.
Right? So le me veille event ça kai role model.
OK. Qui servi comme exemple.
Oui.
Pour l'autre qui peut-être qui venir.
Oui.
So ça veut dire obligé faire ou mettre protocole en place et que tout va marcher bien.
Make sure.
Tout va marcher bien.
Non juste mettre à sous flyer. That moun savent yo vin là. Là ni protocole yo ni poursuivre. Si yo pas suivre li, then nous ka dire yo sorry ou pas ça vini. Because reason là yo ni pour aller sur Instagram page là. Because yo kay parler avec nous avant yo vini. So nous savons qui moun di ka vini, combien moun di ka vini et nous ça dit yo tout protocole là.
Avant yo arriver là, c'est pas là où il fait là ici
oui.
On a ni pour d'accord pour suivre protocole avec bagay qui a mis en place avant ou venir.
Oui.
OK. Dernière question moi Naimado avant Brum n'a commencé et bien avant nous select young Dieu nous tente ces artistes là. Là il vient pour bagay qui jamais été en place. Especially pour artistes qui peut-être trouvé quoi yo affecté ti business. Dis-moi en ou même est-ce ou un plan qui vient pour vieux recouvrir économie dans une manière ban l'autre. Est-ce quoi considération pour artistes yo bien approcher ça?
Well, manière way moi savent gouvernement a try pour mettre en place. But pour moi ça way nous ni pour ver ça ti manière pli. Vous savez pour ces artistes là, nous savons ça yo ka aller through. Et nous ni pour just create by pour aider yo. Right? Nous ni pour create different by pour aider yo because moi-même moi ni shy parler moi ka parler avec genre moi producer artiste avec by yo moi ka parler avec yonde pour nous try si ça nous ça fait and your manière moi regarder moi ni a DJ the l'Amérique non c'est DJ Chili.
Okay.
So ça nous a fait me ka link you up et tout at the artist me ek DJ Chili nous ka faire live.
Okay.
Right on Instagram page li.
Right.
So tout le monde ça still turn you right tout connect play about you wise nous ka delect by ça pour moment.
Quand oui Jean l'autre pays ici avec yon c'est bon bagay là qui a fait parce que nous teni comment non Blaze et puis Caro ici parmi bagay tout le monde a bien identifié là venu pour internet à présent c'est la bagay là qui prend coup pas dit temps corona ça qui bon c'est la terre ça avec ça ouais talent dernièrement est-ce nous avons une situation côté pour chaîne CPA hot kay ni moun ka mettre en tube en l'air quoi Jesse pas ça quoi les moi Lisa pas ça quoi les moi qui ça kay ni en place pour dire CPA ça parce la musique là point et puis moun commence à danser et puis oui mais bah ou pas changer CPA après on veut oui mais là moun
well Boba who this because even last year pool party so a shy glow.
Oh, la il glow.
Oui, nous avons c'est un pool party.
Qu'on va laver maintenant.
Oui, on va laver.
Wonderful.
Lisa, okay.
As we wrap up, if you could just go over your social media handles so that persons can get some more information, they can know where to go.
Yes, for the social media handles, we have Black Cherry 758. That's for if you want to come and register for the event, right? For information basically on WAMTech, get information on the WAMTech team, you could check me out on Instagram, WAMTech the Family, right? You could
That's
check
WAMTEC,
the Family. You also have Pilot Music 758. The artist Sly, to get in contact with Sly, and you have basically Selector Young Music _ right? And of course, any information about the team, you could contact me at 721-4825.
Nice, wonderful. Thank you very much, Wendell, for giving us that update as to how you're doing, how your team is doing despite COVID-19. We again, Carnival is not happening this year, but we do hope that you do well. You're able to generate some revenue, have your team feeling good despite the circumstances. And with that, we'd like to wrap up this morning. I'm not even sure which camera to look at. The cameras have gone all which ways, but we want to thank you so much for watching this morning, the NTN Morning Update. We wrap up the morning update with a session.
Yeah.
A session coming from Selector Young and DJ Drills this morning. So as we wrap up, if you're in your kitchen, if you're in your living room, if you're driving, get ready, get ready, get ready. Morning, Selector Young.
Show them how you just do that thing, girl. Walk up, walk up, walk up, walk up, walk up, walk up. My girl, coming down.
Touchez-moi, j'aime-moi. Touchez-moi, j'aime. Touchez-moi. Lève-moi. Touchez-moi. Lève-moi.
Me nah big friend, me ready to tell the whole of them. We nah broke the code, nah never know, no, no. I know so we grow, nah never know, no, no. Cause I'm broke, me nah get too much. You could say what you want, I ain't ready no. I'm broke, but me nah giving up. You could say what you want, but I living up. I'm broke, me nah get too much. You could say what you want, I ain't ready no. I'm broke, but me nah giving up. Say what you want, but I live it up. So if I can't have me wash, we a do that. Broke people shop, we nah do that. Have girl padlock, we a do that. We stay real to the thing. So if I can't have me wash, we a do that. Broke people shop, we nah do that. Have girl padlock, we a do that. We stay real to the thing. I want to some man, them a pose by the bar, but them not no money to spend. Me can't understand. Them a boss in the street, but them not feed them children. We not broke the code, nah never know, no, no. I know so we grow, nah never know, no, no. Cause I'm broke, me not get too much. You could say what you want, I ain't ready no. I'm broke, but me not giving up. You could say what you want, but I living up. I'm broke, me not get too much. You could say what you want, I ain't ready no. I'm broke, but me not giving up. You could say what you want, but I living up.
Pretty, European girl, them pretty. London girl, them pretty. USA girl, them pretty. African girl, them pretty. All of them girl, them pretty. Body round and your skin so soft. You got another like in all your photos. A girl hotter than a dozen oven. You make a blind man eyes open. We don't make up, you're still on fleek. Them chat bout you, you're still on fleek. Them a hate but you're still on fleek. Like a stripe on your body, I'ma still love it. Every day I wanna make you happy. Girl, you know say I need you badly. Fendi, Gucci, Versace for the body. If you don't understand, let me tell you one. Girl, you're pretty on purpose. Girl, you're pretty on purpose. Girl, you're pretty on purpose. You make a man get nervous. Girl, you're pretty on purpose. Girl, you're pretty on purpose.
what's wrong with this? I'm used to this, yeah. I ain't living till the party over. I ain't living if I'm feeling sober. I ain't living till a sexy girl come wine for me. Nah, I ain't living till I final over. I ain't living till I carry over. I ain't living till I make new friends and family. I'm used to this. I'm used to this, yeah.
Say it's festival again and we ain't waiting. Setting in the land again, let's start celebrating. Find yourself a partner, yeah. Time to sweat together, yeah. Play the music louder, yeah. Setting on the road while we sing it. Coming down the road with your hands up. On the road behind the truck. On the road coming down. What we doing? Coming down the road with your hands up. On the road behind the truck. On the road coming down. Juve morning coming down the road. Weather is right or I have no. Look who's spreading love. Brown skin. I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. Brown skin. I like the way you move. I like the way you groove. Brown skin. See you standing in my way. Brown skin. So beautiful, girl, you so red. When you pass me by, you turn me on. Those freaky things you do, you turn me on. When you turn your face and smile, you turn me on. My emotions running wild, you turn me on. I wish I could be your man. I wish you would understand. I wish I can care for you like no man ever can. I wish come and take my hand. Take me to the promised land. I wish open up your heart and love me once again. Brown skin. I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. Brown skin. I like the way you move. I like the way you groove. Brown skin. See you standing in my way. Brown skin. So beautiful, girl, you so red. This is going out to all my juicy, Lucy, fruity, loody, booty, cutie. Brown skin. Whoa.
Oh, c'est monsieur Soukaka Chile Saga fête là, pas jouer pentien nous savons. Nous pas bailler blague. Cette camarade là, carnaval, saison là, ou pas ça le carnaval mais nous caminer carnaval là-bas. Of course, it's all about select a young in the building. Of course, là week-end qu'on a présent bagay te kay show changer lundi te kay carnaval là, but ça y est, hodia là, nous avons mené un ici. Isam nous avons juste ni beaucoup prête là by Lisa because nous happy Lisa. Yeah. And that's what it is happening right now at NTN, bringing the carnival spirit to you. Since we cannot have it on a Monday and Tuesday, we're giving you something. Of course, with protocol, you would understand. While we enjoy ourselves here, we want you to remember, of course. Yes.
The car with the bump over there, come back again, put the bump on replay. Yeah. Don't play with man. Man pull up like 10 bad man in the band. With a drink in a me hand. Man pull up with 10 hot girl in the band. Don't play with man. Man pull up like 10 bad man in the band. With a drink in a me hand. Hey, in the band. You deep on the soca. In quattro.
One kind of drummer, one kind of mix-up.
Audio lab.
Look, drummer start. Hey, what I gonna do? Let me tell you. Listen what going on. It's like trouble there. Rated.
Oh Lord, what a mix-up. It seems so hot, me have to roll. Side chick see me with me ex same time. My woman out with another man. Oh Lord, what a mix-up. Tonight it's in me life goal. Side chick see me with me ex same time. My woman out with another man. Ex-girlfriend and I link up on a date. Vibes. Empire 758. So me head down to the bar straight. As me with me see me side chick walk. One bit to get you boost up. Gal, you know you're wicked and bad. One bit to get you boost up. Ticky tap it and drop. Tack it up with the full stop. Send it high like bunkers Saint Lucia rooftop. One bit to get you boost up. Ticky tack it and drop. Tack it up with the full stop. Send it high like bunkers Saint Lucia rooftop. Gade dada kapelok. Not touch the miracle lot la good luck. Super savage, a legend rock. Everybody know that you the baddest girl on the block. They say bop pedal up. FPS set it up. You are the best of the best, baby. Oh, baby girl, be you. They got nothing on you. Baby girl, be you. They got nothing on you, my baby. You are a ray of sunshine, joy you bring to my life. you, baby. That wine bad, buy your wine bad. Come here, tell you straight, say you my brother. Baby, girl, me when you bend it. Me when you arch your back, show me technique. 1, 2, 3. Baby, bend, bend, bend. Baby, bend, bend, bend. Baby, bend, bend, bend. You are your friend, yeah. Baby, bend, bend, bend. Baby, bend, bend, bend. Cause problem, blam, blam. Baby, bend, bend, yeah. So me tell ya, set so, wine body, set so, wine body, yeah, set so, wine body, set so, wine body, yeah, set so, wine body, set so, wine body, yeah, set so, wine body, set so, wine body. Just set a fire where you men. That bam bam confuse me head. You got me distracted. Got me doing everything that you said. Million dollar for you, baby. Cherry cassava for you, baby. Baby yama for you, baby. Anything for you, baby. You are your friend, yeah.
It's a vibe here on set in studio this weekend. We started with the news, nice and proper, and things have gotten a bit heated in studio. We're listening to the sounds of a Selector Young in studio with us, jamming with us here this afternoon. We're going into the afternoon with the sounds from morning to afternoon for you. We hope you're having a good time wherever you are listening to NTN live on GIS. We do hope you've been enjoying so far wherever you are, residents of Saint Lucia. And clap for the DJ.
Of course.
Thank you so much for that. And we're switching on to DJ Drills this morning, and he's going to cap off the morning for us, going into the afternoon with some good soca music, some sweet sounds for us missing out on the Carnival Monday and Tuesday come next week. We do hope you're not dismayed. You're listening to this music, and even after we're done for the morning, you can continue on YouTube or what have you, having a good time with this soca music, anything that's making you feel good. If you're listening to us in Saint Lucia, you're listening in the diaspora, well wishers all over the world, on air and online, thank you so much for watching. It's a vibe here in studio, starting with news and ending with some soca music.
Well, my thing is, let's just wind COVID away. And that's just my thing.
COVID fever.
Yes, let's just wind that away.
Ek oui sou ka ton nou, ek ka katile sa ki ka fet la, se pa carnaval, nou ka kase protokol, mais nous ka encourager protocole pas de temps nous ka mener carnaval là-bas ici oui nous mener tout ça qui fait en semaine mais nous ka prendre une chance messieurs dames pour tendre des artistes DJ premier pas nous tendre hard Selector Young après ça nous ka tendre hard DJ Drills sous savant DJ Drills il ka jouer ensemble et puis Sly sous connaît about Sly ka savait gain ou les venir pour groovy quoi oui ça c'est ça qu'a fait ici nous ka misé Nicole nous on ka metto ek ba un petit goût ça ou ka mancher mais changer mais c'est nous ici a toujours centre commande là just hodia nous ka fait ti danser nous amusement nous et puis protocol COVID carnaval COVID ek protocol.
I was following the protocol. I had to go away. I didn't want to sweat on you. So I was over there doing my thing. Just so I don't sweat on you.
Yeah, right.
So we have now DJ Drills on deck ready to go. We'd like to thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure bringing you the latest news from the government of Saint Lucia. We do hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will meet you. We will see you back at the top of the week come Monday. Carlton and myself Monday morning with the latest updates coming from the government of Saint Lucia. Jesse Leonce, Lisa Joseph, Carlton, Cyril, on behalf of the entire production team, we'd like to thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of it.
Bye.
You pretty girl, come closer, closer. Come over, let me hold you. You know your body's like on that one day. Melanin queen, my baby, yo. Dark skin girl, my baby, yo. Melanin queen, my baby, yo. Baby, you they get haunted. I can't start the body 100. Baby, you the most wanted, girl. Pretty lady, most wanted, girl. Baby, you they get haunted. Start the body 100. Baby, you the most wanted, girl. Pretty lady, most wanted, girl. Oh Lord, what a mix up. Seems so hot, me have you roll. Side chick see me with me at same time. My woman out with another man. Oh Lord, what a mix up. Tonight it's in my life, go like that. Side chick see me with me at same time. My woman out with another man. Ex-girlfriend and I link up on a date. Vibes. Empire 758. So me head down to the bar straight. As me witness me side chick walk through the gate. I knew right there and then I had to try to dodge the problem. I tried to sneak out to the bar from my dance when I see the woman running on my best friend. Oh Lord, what a mix up. Seems so hot, me have you roll. Side chick see me with me at the same time. My woman out with another man. What kind of bum bum you have? Show them the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Jiggle it and show the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Show them the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Jiggle it and show the bum bum you have. To get this an easy bum bum. The toothwash fat you have easy bum bum. Vibrate that busy bum bum. And the way you make that bubble, that's a squeezy bum bum. Ever fresh is a no wassy bum bum. Style and pattern you have a clack bum bum. That down large go plus, red but that down mall. My girl you have a massive bum bum. What kind of bum bum you have? Show them the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Show them the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Show them the bum bum you have. What kind of bum bum you have? Jiggle it and show. One to them. I got a glimpse of a diamond. Just like was a dream. Was the most beautiful woman that I have ever seen. Pinch myself just to wake up. Couldn't believe she was real. So I asked her where she come from. She said the West Indies. My Lucian, yeah, sweet Saint Lucia, yeah, my Lucian, yeah, sweet Saint Lucian, yeah, my Lucian, yeah, sweet Saint Lucian, yeah, my Lucian, yeah, sweet Saint Lucian. Let me tell you straight now. If them come, tell them come. If you wanna come, come. In the whole go to me, ever have a million lions in the jungle. Who you bless when no man curse? Come out of the darkness, come out of the dirt. We taking authority over the enemy. Who you bless when no man curse? You can try to bring me down, put my head under the ground every day, but like a flower I will grow. I'm not done till just say so. Is he there on the show? Check up on the beat.
Plenty loving come in. Plenty loving come in. Plenty loving come in. Bring plenty body come in. Yawadera can come in. Plenty loving come in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Land of wine. Land of welcome to my land of welcome to my land of girl, I want and I need it. I taste of your bam bam boy, bam bam boy, I say. Girl, I want in the way you maneuver your bam bam boy, I say. This is the season, don't need a reason to make an excuse for a wine. Falling and hold a girl behind this masquerader caught my attention, so I wait and I just fell in line. Think up and had myself a grind right inside the jar. Oh, my glass in my heart. Oh, I wine in my waistline. She walking up so fine, all up in the front. Oh, it's all kind of stuff. Oh, I whip in the rag and that's all I have. In this world of wine and the woman that I find. One side in the sign, push back and wine up on them. I am not ashamed of the way I get along, 'cause I've been waiting so long to party under the sun. Give me more of the soca and the love. You ask me to settle down, just play me another one and watch me. Come me ragaya, I'm doing it frequently. If I out the order, then you'll have to excuse me. Turn up the music louder, it's the best that I want to feel. All I know is I get it on like it's the first time. I see a flag waving on the road, so I follow it. Like the first time I ever went out calling you. You dead like you don't know, man, like monkey see, monkey do. I slipping on your friend, ting, 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 you're wondering. You say it's just a friend. Ring, ting, 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 you're wondering. You say it's just a friend. Oh, God, no, you can't take again, no, can't take again, no, can't take again, no, can't take again, no. I tell you what, can't take again, no, can't take again, no, can't take again, no, can't take again, no.
My true friends, always there by my side, yeah. My true friends, loyal and full of vibes, yeah. My true friends, we fit in together. Friends now until forever, yeah. When you see we passing the place, no bother way. Drinking liquor down by the case, no bother way. When we come through, just give us space, no bother way. Right now, vibes are high, the energy is high. Start to get your fun vibes. True friends, true friends, take it on. True friends, you, true friends. Now I want you see you, not bad in English, not bad in Spanish, but you bad in bum bum. You bad in bum bum. When all girls taking fish, new position you unleash. Cause you bad in bum bum. You bad in bum bum. Your man say you not no yes no. Friends say me business good, but when you get in the mood, everything looking good. You giving them licks, cause your bumper doing physics. You not bad in mass, but it's doing Jimmy flicks in the truth. Not bad in Safamun. You whining on the new tune, cause you bad in bum bum. You bad in bum bum. Not looking like woman. Doing typhoon, cause you bad in bum bum. You bad in bum bum. Don't mind them. Exit Productions. Grata. Choke crew. Let me tell you what you have to do. So by Kutet, by Lame, by Zoe, Tre Alay, Usa keep it up Alay, Ek Usa shit batabu Alay, Donkey Kong, jump around. If you can, cooking pan, you can make the bumper spin. I say swing on it like Tarzan. If you see she getting on bad, bumper like a bad Kodowan. Yes, bumper pity come miscan, bumper got the bell for salad. Let us big up the choke crew, man. Come on, this a book salafu. Big up Malfred Condi and Shoe. You should know what you have to do. So by Kutek, by Lame, by Zoe, Tre Alay.
When you're riding west, giddy up. Just make sure your horse is the best. Giddy up. When you're riding west, giddy up. Just make sure your horse is the best. Giddy up. And you ride, 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 and you riding. When you're riding west, giddy up. Just make sure your horse is the best. Giddy up. When you're riding west, giddy up. Just make sure your horse is the best. Giddy up. And you ride, 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 and you riding. Married life, it is not easy. That's what the partner should be telling. You can find the crisis center, searching for your meaning. He says, seems like she wants
Saint Lucia, you ready for this one?
Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, just back boom.
Come to them.
In the name of the music, in the hot sun, we start to stand. Everybody come. In the name of the music, in the hot sun, we start to stand. Everybody come. We making a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess. Let me make a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess. No behavior, fetting, fetting, fetting. Mash up barricade, she fetting, fetting, fetting. Jump on the road, jump on the road. Fetting, fetting. Jump on the ground. Let go with it, fetting.
Sing the anthem.
My pressure bad, bad, bad. My pressure mad, mad, mad. My pressure sick, 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 sick. I catching a bad, bad, bad. My pressure bad, bad, bad. My pressure mad, mad, mad. My pressure sick, 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 sick. I catching a bad, bad, bad. Let me go. When we reach up on the highway, pressure boat. Carnival Monday and Tuesday, pressure boat. We fetting at New Party.
Where we go? Look me there. Like who do massive. Everybody link up. Everybody link up now. Everybody link up. Everybody link up now. Make way for the upsetters, upsetters, upsetters. 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 We taking a sofa and we putting that in the road. We taking a fridge and we putting that in the road.
No carnival and tea, carnival and tea. In the quarantine. No carnival and tea, carnival and tea. In the quarantine. In the quarantine. Pen and check your teeth. In the quarantine. In the quarantine. Whole of the shaking like a earthquake that passes. What? Now she bend and do one drop. What? On Umpa life she hot. What? On Korea life she hot. What? Look the life report. Pen your back in the quarantine. Roll that thing in the quarantine. Check your thing in the quarantine. Apple pick in the quarantine. Pen your back in the quarantine. Roll that thing in the quarantine. In the quarantine. No carnival and tea. Badness, badness. Best quarantine. On Facebook she might be. Alright now, badness. People comment
Chip, chip, chip. Behind the truck, no play cheap. You know costume you're looking so sweet Monday and Tuesday and the road me lit. Chip, chip, chip. Behind the truck, no play safe. In your costume you're looking so sweet Monday and Tuesday and the road me lit. Make me shock where the truck stop. Boy, I tell you don't forget truck up. Find your team, me rolling it. Falls on the first song play, we getting on. My hydro pack, that intact. Strong arm alone, I put in. I could have be sharp-in or black. I whining on that.
I dey shocked by the roundabout. Never forget my cup. What you talking about? Look the truck, I saw the door. Today there, no time for war. You want another? We the place. Boys, we set in the base. When we reach on the bumper wall, ladies, talk it and spin round.
What's Denry? Sons and daughters of Denry, wherever you may roam, you know that the love is home. Shall Denry stand alone? Now, sons and daughters of Denry, wherever you may roam, you know that the love is home. Shall Denry we stand alone? One thing about Denry, we full enough beauty. The tallest waterfall for the park and leave you by the Madeli. Souffle personne pour fouiller, allez d'être en Henley. The fish fiesta plans place and go down by Stephanie. Let's go now, sons and daughters of Denry, wherever you may roam, you know that the love is home. Shall Denry we stand alone?
So bring in the shaker, bring in the iron, bring in the rhythm, bring in the bass.
Mr. Viking, what do you have for us for this year?
Put your left foot in front and your right foot behind. Put your left foot in front and your right foot behind. You put your left foot in front and your right foot behind. Put your left foot in front and your right foot behind.
Mr. Viking, last year you said you wanted our women. What do you intend to do with them this year?